No more
What?
swearing.
We weren't live yet, were we? I hope not.
Where now?
I forgot to turn my dang phone off.
Oh yeah, pretty sure mine's silenced.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Yep.
Man, I'm all backwards right now. Here we go.
Ooh, I'm glad you said backwards.
Well,
Chicka-chicka.
he's not here. Here we go.
Yeah, that's it.
Boom, boom, boom.
All right, here we go. Welcome to Creative Makers Podcast with your host, Joey with Steel Blade Woodworks, Matt with Wacky Works Workshop, Jen with Jen's Turns, Jamie with JP Woodwork, and Jake with Northside Custom Crafts. Welcome to Creative Makers Podcast, episode 75. I'm Joey with Steel Blade Woodworks, and today we have Mr. Trevor with Madira Designs. How you doing, bud?
Hi.
Hello.
I am
How you
great.
doing?
We're light a few people today, but we're gonna try to get through this. And Trevor, usually start off and give us a long version of your background of how you got started doing what
Sure.
you do.
Sure. So I am mostly known online as a woodturner. How I got started, though, it's a crazy story nobody's really ever heard of. My wife needed something made, and so I made it. I know it's kind of crazy. Not a lot of people get started woodworking that way, but I did. I'm pretty special. Started woodworking, making custom furniture, things like that. Started selling pieces and seeing that I could make money doing that, and I actually really like doing that. So I did a lot of tables and bookshelves and desks for a few years. Decided that I love doing that, but I really hate working with clients. I don't like people telling me how to make things because I'm an artist and I'm like, this is going to be a super ugly desk if you do it this way. But you're paying me money, so I guess I'll do it. I didn't like that aspect of it. So I got a lathe and I started turning and decided I like doing that more. I actually got my first lathe from my recently deceased grandfather a couple years ago. That was the only thing that I got and wanted from him. And I got it. And like a lot of people who get started with lathes, Jake, I'm sure you know, it's a little scary to start because you put this piece of wood on there and it's just going and you're like, this thing's gonna fly off and kill me. Not to mention I didn't even have anybody to like help me or guide me. So I just did it, and I started turning little bowls and little things. And one of the things that kind of really bugged me was that there was information online about wood turning, but a lot of the information, mostly on YouTube and stuff, because that's how I learn is visual. They were all like really old guys, like 90, and I was like, where? And the videos were probably 40 minutes to 2 hours long, and I'm like, I don't want to watch this. I just want to know, how do you do this? And the main thing that I wanted to learn was segmenting. I really love segmented turning, and I don't know what was going on when I started learning it, but it's like that art form of wood turning just died. And so all the videos I could find on it were these super old guys, super poor quality. It's just like, I appreciate that these guys are trying to teach and help, but there's got to be better things out there. So I started making my own YouTube videos. They're not good, of course, because I don't know what I was doing, but I was like, I'm just going to start doing this and learning through doing that. Which brought me to one of my main things that I do now, which is selling things on Etsy. And I sell wood turning jigs to help people get into segmented turning. Because if you've ever tried segmented turning, it's kind of tricky and there's kind of a lot to it if you don't know what you're doing. So I started coming up with things like that and started selling those. And so that's mostly what I do. I mostly make jigs for wood turners, and I wood turn when I get the time.
Awesome. We'll talk about the jigs here in a minute.
Yeah.
When I first started, you mentioned like it was scary. When I first started, I had people that I knew that aren't wood turners. They see me turning wood, and they have that guy has that log on the lathe, and it flies off and hits him in the face.
Mm-hmm.
I had tons of people send me that. And I don't know if they were telling me you're not smart enough to wood turn or like wear a helmet or whatever. Anyway,
you.
Yeah. For the people at home, my name is Jake Thompson from Northside Custom Crafts. I do an icebreaker. Hopefully I'll do better than I did last week. Trevor Davies. Joey put that in the group chat. Hey, we got Trevor Davies. And I was like, cool, man. He sounds famous. Like, just because you have a cool name. Like, have you ever heard that before? Like, that's the first thing that came to my mind is like, he has to be awesome. He has an awesome name.
All I've heard is that I have the face of a model. I haven't heard that I sound like famous, but, that's about it.
Trevor Davies. I guess that's the icebreaker is you got an awesome name. Well, we appreciate that.
I'll tell my parents.
Yeah. Trevor Davies. Sounds famous. So you just have to work your way into the fame part.
Yeah, I got to actually get famous. So,
yeah, you got this.
Yeah, there you go. Well, Mr. Famous Trevor, welcome. I'm Jamie from JP Woodwork across the socials. So my question is, you do a lot of segmented turning. What are some challenges you might face that someone turning a solid block of wood might not?
First, I would say one of the challenges you face with segmenting is it exploding on you because you don't glue it well enough. You don't usually have that problem with a solid piece of wood. But another one I would say is just, especially as a beginner segmenter, if you're not perfectly dialed in with your segments, your rings aren't going to come out perfect and circular. And so then you have to rework it, recut it, redo everything. And like with a regular just log, you can just chuck it on your lathe and get going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that kind of brings me to a good point, and I'm going to shout you out here. I've followed you for a while now, and Trevor's got a really, really cool jig called the Wedgie, and you can find it on his Etsy, and I want you to talk about how that came about, because I think it's really, really cool, and it's an easy way, excuse me, where you have that angle set up already, ready to go, just cut your pieces of wood and glue everything together, and it simplifies the process, and you have a really cool jig, so everybody out there listening, go check that out. But can you talk about how that came about and what it does?
Yeah, sure. So first, I don't take any credit for the invention or the creation of these jigs. The Wedgie had been already created by somebody, and they sell them as well. All I did basically was redesign it to a design that I liked, and came out with a couple different angles. But basically, a Wedgie is a triangle piece, more or less. Actually, I have one right here. So this is a Wedgie, and this one you can see will give you 32 pieces in your circle. So I make those. These are made out of HDPE, and when I first started making them, I actually had to hire out somebody who had a CNC because I couldn't cut these angles perfectly on my table saw or anything like that. So I hired somebody out to make them, and they were originally made out of 1/2-inch Baltic birch, which sucked because it was chippy, and plywood it chips, it just doesn't look good. So eventually I got my own CNC and I started making these wedgies for myself. These wedgies work, what's the word? Coincide? These wedgies work with wedgie sled. And the wedgie sled is basically 2 pieces of wood on a fence that you put the wedgie in, and that forms your perfect angle. So then you can turn your segments.
So I'm going to ask. Go ahead.
Yeah,
sorry.
go. I have a whole YouTube, and you can see it all on my YouTube and how it all works on my YouTube.
I was going to ask about the wedgie sled. Thank you, Joey, for messing that up. But was it already named a wedgie sled, or what? Did you name it a wedgie?
No, it was already named wedgies and wedgie sleds. And how I came up with my design for the wedgie sled was, what's his name? A guy on YouTube. He does a lot of segmenting. I looked up wedgie sleds, to try and make my own. And all the ones that were online were pretty complicated. They involved either a CNC that you needed to put precision holes in or stops in. And, I was like, man, there's got to be an easier way. And one day I saw a guy who does a lot of segmenting. He had the type of sled that I now make. And so I was like, hey, can I use this to make my own sled? And he was like, I don't care. I was like, sweet. So I copied his design, and then, you know how the internet goes. I used it on Instagram or something, and someone was like, where did you get that? What is that? How do I get it? And I was like, I can maybe make it for you. And before I had a CNC, so I would hand cut all the pieces and glue things, and it'd take me a day to make one sled. And that's how that came about.
So do you like using the table saw one or cutting them on the bandsaw?
The table saw for sure, mostly because my bandsaw, I only have a 10-inch bandsaw, so it's not very big. But I'm 86.3% sure that the table saw is going to be more accurate than the bandsaw. But a lot of wood turners and segmented wood turners only have a bandsaw. So right. I made one for the bandsaw for that purpose.
Cool. I like that percentage point too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done my research.
There you go. So you mentioned that you got a CNC, so I'm gonna say this one. I'm gonna make myself sound a bit smart.
So,
do you prefer the precision and predictability of the CNC, or the unpredictable and hands-on nature of wood turning?
Ooh, that is a good question. So, where'd you guys get this guy? Where'd you get this guy? He's not from around here, I think.
Yeah.
I'll give you both answers to both of those questions because I can't pick one. I love the accuracy of the CNC, and I love how I can use it to make these things precisely. Like I can make it and it does it for me, and I know that it's gonna work. But if I had to give one up, I would give up my CNC so I could lathe more, because I think as a wood turner and an artist, that's just a whole different type of freedom. When you're wood turning, it's just you and your tools, and you just get to make whatever you want, really. You don't have to follow any sort of codes or anything like that. It's just the freedom of making.
Yeah, there you go. You hear that, Joe?
Yeah. I got a lathe sitting out there that maybe somebody needs to come teach me how to use it, because just sits out there. Anyhow,
has it been plugged in?
It's good to look at.
Yeah, no, I just keep it kind of oiled up. I haven't plugged it in probably since I moved to this new shop. It's been collecting dust for 7 years now, I guess.
That's pretty good.
It only takes me a couple minutes for mine to collect dust, but I guess we're doing it different.
Yeah. As soon as I start using it.
Yep.
So give us what staying on the wood turning topic here, what has been the biggest fear that you've had to overcome, not being able to be taught from a professional wood turner? What are the things that you've had to overcome teaching yourself and that you still struggle with?
I would say the very first thing I had to overcome was just the fear of turning it on and turning my very first piece. That is, if you're just sitting alone in your shop, I'm sure most people can relate to this with almost any tool. It's scary. You're like, this is something new. I could lose my finger today. But I think with a lathe, it's like, this is something new. I could lose my eyeball today, or whatever. This thing could hit me in the face, and it could be very painful. So I think that's a really big fear that a lot of people have, is just starting. But the thing that I am constantly afraid of, I guess, or that's in the back of my head, is speed. Is the speed of the lathe. I know that the speeds matter when you're turning. But honestly, I usually keep my lathe low and slow. Like, I rarely turn up my speeds because I'm afraid to. Once that piece of wood starts turning faster and faster, and you can hear that wind whipping around that thing, you're like, it makes me a little bit scared.
So was the brand of, was it a Harbor Freight lathe?
Yeah, I have a Harbor Freight lathe.
So, people that are listening, you have it on and you change the speed while it's running, right?
Yeah.
So if you end with it on higher and you turn it off and then switch out something, and then when you go again, it's going to be high. So you have to like click it on and off and move it. Yeah. And so that's like the scary part of that particular lathe is my daughter. We were making a pretty sweet bowl, and she goes, "Hey, this is still on all full blast," and turned it on. Chunked it across. She cut her hand. Like, it was ridiculous. And I've upgraded since then, but just so people know, like, that's part of that lathe's downfall. Like, that's part of the bad part about that lathe.
There's a reason it's cheap, right? Like, it doesn't come with all the bells and whistles. It's definitely a learning lathe. It's one of it's the main lathe that I tell people if they want to get into it. I was like, this is a great lathe. You got to be careful of these things, but it's like $500, I think, or something like that. And it's like, it's a full cast iron bed. I mean, it's a decent little lathe.
And, when you compare those like to a Grizzly model, they have something pretty dang comparable to that. So it's not too far off, other than maybe that speed issue, changing your speeds. But back in the day when I was looking at getting one, I was like, I studied them, went back and forth, finally made the decision with the lathe that I went with. And I went with something that was not going to, I guess, not have too many obstacles of me using it, as far as, because I didn't know what I was doing, and it didn't take me long to chunk a bowl across the shop and dang near kill myself with it. But, that's part of all learning. I mean, that fear was always there, turning that on, knowing what speed, and then that thing starts trying to walk across the floor because it's off balance, and you're like, oh, and my fear with getting over was shoving that piece of metal into that thing, not knowing what was going to happen, and that thing, especially when it's not round and it's still kind of square and it's just hitting those corners and just tapping, and it's just like, ooh, man, that it took a while. And then after I chunked that bowl, I had to sit back for a little bit before I ever turned anything else, So
yeah, it's kind of like when you get like kickback on the table I saw or something. You're like, I need to step away from this for a minute. I need to regain my courage, and I'll try again later.
Yeah, the cool thing about the Harbor Freight lathe is when you make cool stuff and you're doing videos on it, and people see you making cool things on a Harbor Freight lathe, it makes them know that you don't have to have a $3,000 lathe, $10,000 lathe, or whatever. So that's a pretty cool thing. I saw in one of your videos. I was like, yeah, he's got it. He's making cool stuff with the Harbor Freight. Good to go.
Yeah.
Make some really awesome things on that thing. It's enjoyable. Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to go from a really good question to a really controversial question now. Traditional or carbide?
Well, I'm not a caveman, so I tend to use carbide.
There you go.
No, I do use carbide. I really want to learn how to use traditional because I know that obviously traditional tools are great and they have specifics for those. But I picked up carbide because I had nobody to teach me. So I picked up carbide because everywhere I went, I saw you don't have to know how to turn if you're using carbide. You just can start. And I was like, great, let's try that out. Like, let's do that. And here I am, like 5 years later, still using them, and they're great. But I really do want to learn traditional because it looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's pretty much the similar story to what I started with. I started with carbide, then decided to go the traditional route, and just found myself always picking up a carbide tool, and then just solely went carbide.
Yeah.
So
carbide's great.
Have you had people in the comments, whether it's Instagram or YouTube, give you trouble about it, or try to, people that really believe in the traditional tools or don't believe in carbides really believe that they're opinionated about it?
I haven't. I think that most of my community on YouTube and Instagram are people who are learning, and so they all accept it. They're like, okay, like that's what it is. Most people that tune into my YouTubes or my Instagram are people who have those questions where they're like, should I use carbide or should I use traditional? They see me using carbide and making some good things, and they're like, well, that seems to work, so let's just do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't even own a traditional tool, and I think I'm just like you. I think it's cool. I want to learn it. I think it's awesome. I like watching people do it, but if I'm busy making something, I don't have time to sit there and buy more tools and learn how to sharpen them and which angles to do and all that kind of stuff. I do like watching people use them, though, that know how to use them. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, that's the other reason I don't use traditionals, because it takes a lot more time. You have to sharpen them. You have to learn how to use them. You have to do all these things. And for people like us, where it's not our job and I've only got 40 minutes out in the shop to start turning something. I'm not going to take 20 minutes to sharpen my tool. I'm going to rotate it and get going.
Yeah,
there you go.
There you go. So Trevor, looking back, you do a real good job editing videos and doing things like that. Is that something that you went to school for, or is that just something that you picked up starting this journey that you're doing now?
No, I didn't go to school for it. I did. I guess I kind of did. I went to, you guys might have heard of it. It's a pretty big university. YouTube University.
Yeah.
I went to YouTube University. And I also grew up doing a lot of photography. So I did photography from basically the time I was like 15. And then I did it professionally until I was about 22. And then I got into woodworking and such. But with photography and stuff like that, obviously video comes into play. And like I've been calling myself, I'm an artist. And so to me, it's important to have good audio and good visuals and good editing. And I think that also helps engage your audience. If people see like, oh, this is a fun clip, or whatever, then they're like, I want to follow this guy and I want to see what else he's up to. And I try to incorporate editing and things like that even into my stories. Every once in a while you'll see me do some little trick or something, and I'll get a couple people be like, how'd you do that? What is that? And I'm like, oh, it's just this little thing, but it's a fun way that I like to express myself and to help keep people interested in my ugly mug.
So what do you edit with?
I
know
use
an
Premiere.
editor. Which editor?
I use Premiere, Adobe. the best, the only one you should use. If you use DaVinci, you're wrong. And I'm looking at you, Hamilton. Pretty sure Hamilton Dilbeck uses DaVinci.
Wow, you offended me.
So you don't have much of an opinion about that, huh?
Do whatever you want, I guess. You can also guess I use Apple products, so
yeah,
those go hand in hand. But no, there's no wrong editing system. Just whatever works for you. Use whatever makes you comfortable. But if you really want to get into editing, or you really want to I think up your game in editing your videos and your content, it's not something you can just get good at in a day. It's something you have to practice at. It's something you have to go to college, YouTube University, and learn and just practice, and nobody's going to be good at it their first time or their first, 4 or 5 times. I'm starting to sound like my wife on our wedding night, but you're just not going to be good at it at the beginning. You have to practice.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's so you do offer that, right? I mean, does that somebody can send you footage and is that something that you do or not?
That I was about to go that route because I was desperate for money. I was thinking of doing video editing for content creators because I do enjoy editing and things like that. And I was thinking about offering it, and I talked to a couple of creators who I was going to work with, but I came to the conclusion that was just another side project that I was excited about, and that I really just needed to focus on my own editing and on my own content, and that I should try to make my money and be successful that way.
There you go. Cool.
So don't DM me if you want help editing things. I will say no. I can give you tips, and I can give you a consultation for a small fee, $100 or more. Just kidding. But I'm more than happy to help people. More than happy to help people and offer what advice I can, but I don't do it for money. Like a lot of things.
Yeah. There you go.
So you're on the top of editing. Your Instagram is a sizable Instagram. Did that happen? Was there a couple of posts that went viral, or was it just a slow burn, a gradual thing over time? Or how did you gain your growth on Instagram?
So it was a slow go until it wasn't. So doing Instagram for, I can't even remember how long I've been on Instagram, but forever, doing woodworking that whole time and stuff. And it was slow, but COVID hit and everybody was posting and everybody was growing their followers and stuff. And that was kind of when I was like, all right, I need to get in the game and take this a little more seriously. So I set a goal for myself, and I committed to posting on Instagram 3 times a day for as long as I could, basically. And I ended up doing that, I think, for about 6 months. So I posted three reels a day for 6 months. And in that time, I think I grew from about 10,000 to whatever I'm at now, 40 something. So it was slow for the first, 5 years or whatever. But once I focused up and committed to a goal, people, I guess, liked it.
Or Instagram liked it?
Someone liked it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Someone did.
Bots, man, I guess.
That's a lot. 3 reels a day.
Yeah, it was a lot.
So did you come up with some kind of cookie cutter thing to get the videos out, or was it just, did you take each one seriously, or do you have a program, or how did you do that 3 times a day?
It was a little bit of all of it. So sometimes I would make 4 or 5 in a reel, and a lot of people will remember during COVID, that was when a lot of just stupid reels took off, like peeling the glue off of the thing and routing something. And it was just, it didn't have to actually be educational, or people didn't have to actually get something from it. They just wanted to see something. And so making reels that actually got engagement back then was super easy. And so that's all I did was I filmed everything and then I would post it. And this was before you could schedule things. And so I would wake up 6:30, post. And then I would be like, oh man, it's noon, post. And then, oh, it's 7:00, post. And yeah, it was work. I mean, you literally had to put in the work to get it done.
It's hard for me to do one post a week.
Yeah,
same. I'm there now too, and I'm like, I don't know how I did that.
yeah. Wow, that's a lot.
But it obviously paid off though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually doing the same thing. Not the same thing, but I have a new goal right now that is one short a day on YouTube for the next 6 months. So I'm hoping that helps me grow a little bit, plus one long form video a week. We'll see how it goes. But I think if you want to grow your stuff, you got to put in the work. You can't just get lucky anymore.
Especially nowadays, it seems like, once they did a little change up on Instagram now, you got to put some stuff out there. It's not, you may get lucky and get a quick hit, but it's putting in that time. And I noticed the growth when I did it, and then I got burnt out and have slacked off quite a bit. And just like you say, sometimes with the real job, it just gets overwhelming with the family and trying to make everything just work out. It's tough sometimes. And I've been on a little siesta for quite a while, and I haven't done a whole lot. Every now and then, it just, I'll throw something out there, but it is what it is,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And luckily now I'm at the point, at least with Instagram, where I'm happy with my numbers where I'm at. And I also have a ton of backlog. So if I'm ever like, I just want to post something, I have things I could go back to from like 3 years ago that nobody's ever seen or people like that I knew they liked, and I can just repost that. So the work isn't as tedious now.
Yeah. There you go. So my next question is, have you ever tried resin turning yet, and what is your thoughts?
I have not tried resin turning. I've put resin in like something like in a bowl to fill a knot or something and gotten the little fairy strands that come off and stuff. And I would like to resin turn, but I'm afraid of resin. There's so many things that could go wrong with resin that it's always like, I want to try that. Maybe I'll do it next week, or like, I want to try that. You have to make a mold first. Maybe I'll do that next week. Maybe I'll just join Jake's
Jake Blake Club.
Jake, that thing. Maybe I'll join that and just cheat my way up and do it that way. But
you don't have to make a mold either. Jake sells them as well.
Yeah, settle down. We got commercials on Saturday, Jimmy.
Yeah, it's all one-stop shop there, Trevor. You get everything there at Northside Custom Crafts.com.
There we go.
Okay.
Here we go. Yeah, let's change the subject here. We got a question from the chat. Conderosa Creations. Trevor, what's your favorite wood to turn? Hopefully I said that right. Sorry.
Conderosa. Yeah, my name's Trevor. You said that right.
That's what I'm talking about. I've been working on things, man.
Good. Your accent's coming along a lot better than JP's, at least.
Yeah.
Conderosa. Ben Conderosa. My favorite wood to turn is probably walnut, because that's every wood turner's favorite anything. But my real favorite wood to turn is probably alder, because that was my first wood that I ever turned was alder, and it's just got a special place in my heart. It's really soft, it's smooth, it's just a pretty color, and you don't get a lot of deformities in it or anything, so it's really nice, and it's really easy to start with, especially if you're doing segmenting.
How many times has Benjamin called you for advice on wood turning. He's kind of taken a real niche to just doing that now. So I'm just wondering.
It's annoying at this point. He's just like my little brother who just follows me around everywhere. No, I'm just kidding. Me and Ben, we go back. He's been my friend since I don't know when, forever, and he's a great guy. But like I say before, like if people have questions about anything, they can always DM me, and we can set up a call or something whenever I can. I'm usually super busy, but yeah.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to the CNC, your good buddy Dave Miller put it out there that you are the CNC guru. Give us a little bit about just stating facts, what's out there on the interwebs.
That's what I'm talking about.
I don't know. I'm shocked that you said my good buddy Dave Miller.
Oh.
He's my great buddy. He's my great
buddy.
Great buddy.
I was wondering which way that was going to go.
Me too. What do you like about it? What do you use as your software? Give us your opinion on CNCs.
My opinion is very small because I literally almost run the same thing on the CNC every day, I feel. But I desperately needed a CNC. And so I was searching, but I'm also poor. And so I was like, I need a CNC for like $100 if I can find it. And luckily I had a friend here in Idaho, Scotty, over at Elevated Wood Design. He was getting rid of his, and he was like, I'll sell it to you. And I was like, great. So I paid a ridiculously low price for it. And that's how I got my first CNC, which is the Inventables X-Carve. It's a good little CNC. It takes a lot of maintenance day to day, and it takes learning it, I would say. Like there's just little quirks about it that are kind of frustrating, or maybe it's just me as a beginner CNC-er. But that's my CNC. And if I've had a couple people message me and ask me, should I get this CNC? And I tell them, if it's all you can afford. If it's all you can afford, it's not a bad CNC. But if you can afford something just a little bit more, I would get something more because you're not going to regret it. One thing I think that I had a fear of getting a CNC, or almost with any tool, is like, I'm putting down a lot of money for this. I don't want to be like Joey and just let it sit on the side while it cooks.
Oh my God.
I want to use it.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
It's just depreciating.
What was the question? What advice about CNCs?
Yeah, software you use, that kind of stuff.
I use easel because it's compatible with X-Carve, and it's very user-friendly. It's super, super like simple and easy to use. So I use that, but I'm going to get into V-Carve, I think.
Yeah.
Because you guys will hear it here first. I just ordered my Onefinity. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. So
yay.
That's on its way, and I am ecstatic because I'll have a bigger bed, more power, better, just everything. So I'm going to start getting into Vectric and that stuff. But if you are thinking about getting your CNC, or you're thinking about trying something new, find somebody who does CNC work, because it's a gold mine if you can find somebody to help you.
Yeah.
And going back to Ben's been calling me all the time about his CNC. Really? And I'm like, dude, leave me alone. Just leave me alone, Ben.
I was going to call Ben for some advice. So
you should.
Oh, okay.
Don't call me.
Don't call me.
No, I'm just kidding. Call me. Don't call Ben. That's a bad idea.
Oh, that's funny. So that's cool, though. What? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry, Joey.
Go ahead. You're probably going to ask what I'm going to ask. I don't want to mess your.
I was going to say, as far as CNCs goes, like the saying is, get your second or third CNC first,
Yes.
because you're going to do that. And my question was going to be, who are you going to? Who's your go-to guy for the CNC stuff? Like, why'd you go with Infinity? What prompted you to go that way?
So I'm dumb and I don't ask people for help. I figure it out on my own, and then I wait for people to be like, this poor man, he needs help, and they reach out to me. And that person for me is usually David Miller. He'll usually reach out to me and be like, dude, you need help. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be nice. So I don't do that, but when I do research, I usually tune into Two Moose because they're freaking awesome. They're wizards on the CNC. But it always bugged me because they're like, here on my Onefinity, and I'd be like, oh gosh, I don't have that. Why am I even watching this? But he uses easel, I'm pretty sure, or he did. And so a lot of the stuff that I learned from them applied to what I was doing.
Cool.
Yeah.
And which one are you getting? Which one are you getting?
I'm getting the Journeyman. It's a 36 by 48. And I went with that because I am in a one car garage. And I also noticed that with my 36 by 36, I don't use the back 12 inches. I only use, the first 24. So I was like, well, let's do the same, but let's make it longer so I can then just take that 48 inch and do it that way.
Yeah. Cool. Mm-hmm. That's going to be exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm nervous to put it together, but everyone says it's super easy. So
yeah, I mean, our buddy Matt that's on here, I mean, I've watched him put his together and it's like nothing. I mean, it's super easy.
Perfect.
Super easy. And
easier than the one you have.
and
probably I didn't put mine together, so I'm grateful for that.
And if you need anything, he's got some videos, or just get a hold of him. Matt Wackerle-Wackey. He's very helpful, very knowledgeable with the Onefinity. So, he'll rewatch this. He'll edit it, so he'll know that we told you to get a hold of him. So.
Yeah, get all up in his DMs. Just call him out of the blue.
Matt, DM me.
There you go.
There we go. Let's see that.
There you go.
All right. So on the flip side to Ben's question, are there any woods that you steer away from whilst turning?
Ben, steer away from? Not really. I mean, I haven't. I want to try it, but I'm hesitant to order it because everyone says it's like the worst thing ever, and that's black palm. Everyone says that black palm is like shooting splinters into your hands and arms, but it's really pretty. And I'm like, well, is it worth it? That's the one that I would like to try. But yeah, everyone's like, it's the worst thing ever. And I'm like, oh, okay. But like,
it's more of a grass.
Yeah. Like I've turned bamboo. That's super fun to turn. It's not, at least how I turned it, wasn't hard or anything like that. I'm not really too scared of like super hardwoods, I think, because back again to the carbide discussion, it's like I got carbide tools. Like not a lot of woods are going to be able to be like, you're not cutting me today, or it's like, yeah, I am. I'm cutting you up.
Yeah.
So, it's not too bad.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your favorite way to finish your bowls? What do you like to use? What's your go-to to put a finish on?
My favorite finish might be I obviously like to use Walrus Oil. They've been a long time sponsor of the shop. I know Dave really well, and they put out great products. If you haven't used Walrus Oil, you're missing out. I also really like Bumbleshoots. For Walrus Oil, I really like their furniture butter. It's sweet. It's amazing. And then Bumbleshoots also has another finish alongside that, Banuba wax, which is great. But for my finishing process, I like to turn the bowl, make a bowl shape, and sand it is usually a good idea. I don't really sand up past 220 just because I don't really think it's necessary unless I'm going for like a super shiny, glossy bowl, which I don't. Plus, I believe that the oil penetrates better if you keep it right around 220.
Right.
I'll oil it, and whatever I oil it with, I'll let that sit either overnight. It's usually overnight because I finish and I'm like, okay, I gotta go to work, and then I go to work and I come home and I let it sit overnight, and then come back, wipe it off, apply another coat, let that sit for a few hours, wipe it off, and then if I'm feeling a little frisky, I'll throw on just some straight beeswax on it to just really put on another extra layer of protection. But I don't think it's needed, but sometimes it's just fun.
There you go.
So
Cool deal.
Let me see your YouTube videos. When you sit down to do one of those, can you tell us the difference between, like, obviously shorts are short, and then, but like even the storytelling and what you're doing in a long form video on YouTube? Can you tell us what your mindset is going to that versus a short?
yeah. First of all, with my YouTube, I still have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know, like, if I want to be educational, if I want to do just storytelling, if I want to be a silent film. I'm still kind of figuring that out because to me, I feel like I'm still young in my YouTube channel. I still have a long way to go to kind of perfect where I want to be. But usually I've tried it both ways with writing a script for my YouTube channel and just free falling it, just doing it, whatever. I'll just do this.
Yeah.
I like the script because it keeps me on task, and it keeps me, going. But I like the free form because, again, I'm an artist and I just like to express myself that way. So in between both of those, I do a little bit of all of it. Sorry. With my YouTube videos and stuff, though, I'm also trying to figure out, do I want this to be like a super high quality, with all my lights and the nice lenses, or do I want to just kind of make it more like I do in my stories? I've had people tell me that I should just upload my stories that I do daily on Instagram to YouTube and make those into my long form videos because they like watching videos that way, where I'm just holding the camera, talking, and kind of explaining what I'm doing. So again, I'm just trying to still figure it all out. And it doesn't help that my brain is already scrambled as it is.
There you go.
All right. So what is your go-to glue for your segmented pieces? And is there a reason for using that one?
Yeah, I use Type-Bond, and that's because they paid me $1 billion a year to promote their stuff. No, I'm just kidding. I wish I was sponsored by Type-Bond. That would be awesome. I use Type-Bond. I use Type-Bond 3 in all of my stuff. Yeah, sponsored. I use Type-Bond 3 for all of my segmenting stuff, and basically that's the only glue I have in my shop because I don't know what people are going to be using my bowls for, especially like it could just be a candy dish or they could be putting a salad in it or something. Like, I don't know, and I would rather have the waterproofing of Type-Bond 3 than not.
Yeah.
So I'll get some people who comment, they're like, you don't need to use that. You can use Type-Bond 1 or whatever. And I'm like, if it's the best, why not use the best?
So you're supposed to have 2 or 3 different glues around so if you don't want it waterproof, like if one works for everything, why don't you just buy one thing?
Exactly. It's like, I'd rather just buy a gallon of T3 and rock and roll all day.
There you go.
So is there any plans to eventually upgrade the lathe, or are we going to stick with the Harbor Freight? Is that just the sentimental of that you just you're going to continue turning on that, or or what's the future look like?
The future is bright, I think.
Right.
Gotta
What
wear
they tell me.
shades.
It's not bleak, at least. I would love to upgrade my lathe, but every time I go to look at lathes that I want to upgrade to, I'm like, this one's doing fine for now. I'm definitely kind of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. And going back to my CNC, why did I just drop so much money on a new CNC if this one's working fine? It's because my CNC is actually making me good money, and upgrading it will increase that payout. So my lathe makes me a little bit of money. I sell things from that every once in a while, but if I upgrade my lathe, it's only gonna benefit me and how I feel while I turn, and it's not gonna make a financial improvement. Which I don't mean to make it sound like I'm all about the money, but if I want to continue doing my turning and my things, I do need money.
Right.
Just has to make sense.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, it doesn't make sense for me right now to upgrade my lathe, but hopefully one of my uncles dies and I come into some money and I can upgrade my lathe eventually.
Hopefully it's the uncle you don't like.
Yeah. An uncle I don't know in Ireland.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my goodness.
My Harbor Freight got out because it broke. That was the catalyst for me having to get a new lathe, but I love that thing.
Yeah, I hope mine doesn't break because I just spent all my money on a new CNC, so I don't know what I do.
You'll be fine. What bits do you mainly use on that CNC? Do you have a preference of what you like or what brand?
Not particularly. I've worked with Tools Today a couple of times, and they've sent me out some Amana bits. I really like them. Those are the only ones I really order right now, just because it's the number one thing I order in my Amazon. So it's like, do you want to buy it again? I'm like, yeah, might as well. Let's buy it again. And I don't really care to venture out and learn and like try other bits. I've tried plenty of bits, but the Amana bits are just the ones that I've landed on that I use.
We've had a guy, and I've used them, and they're good, and he's been on the show before. And if it's something that you're looking to spread your wings and try, check out Cadence Manufacturing. If you've never heard of them, he's got some real good bits, Cody, with Cadence, and very affordable.
I think I saw him once somewhere. Maybe you shared him in your story or something.
Yeah, he's been on some of my lives. He's been on the show here, and one man operation works, doing his thing, raising a family.
He has like 12 Jennies.
Yeah, his bits are named after his wife and stuff. So he got some good products. Go check them out.
Nice. Yeah, I'll have to.
Yep.
Okay, I got a question about the jig, and I have some table saw jigs for cutting blanks that I make and sell, but I really don't push them that much because I'm worried about somebody hurting themselves on the table saw, and then all of a sudden try to make me responsible for it. Are you worried about the same thing, or do you put like a disclaimer in with the product, or are you not worried about that at all?
I probably should put a disclaimer in, but I don't. I just send these things out, man. I'm like, I hope these people know what they're doing because this is what it is. There are a couple of things that you still have to set up on your sled when you get it that I don't do for that reason. I don't set things like they need to put a miter bar on the bottom of their sled. I don't do that because every table saw is different. I don't know what your distances are to your blade, yada yada. There's like a little fall off bar on the other opposite side of the blade that some people like to put magnets or tape or whatever on that. I don't do that because I'm like, I'm not putting magnets on this because if it for some reason magnetizes to your blade, that's not on me. That's on you, it's all just kind of a hope that nobody hurts themselves and thinks, here's an easy out. Let me sue this guy who sold me this jig. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that doesn't happen. Now you got me all scared about it.
Well,
Thanks,
I mean,
Jake.
I've done the same thing, and it's a cool jig. I like making jigs. I think probably about the same as you do, but it's like if the wrong person gets a hold of it or whatever, or they're just like don't use it right, of course it's going to be your fault.
Yeah,
You know?
sure.
So I didn't mean to scare you. I just want to know what your thoughts were on it.
I mean,
because I worry about it.
It's just like anything, though. I mean, heck, I sell stuff. It's nothing that goes into a saw blade, but it's just those things. It's like, I sell 3D printed items, and they're going to put, $200 track saw tracks on there. And what if that thing gives out, and breaks, and they're going to try to, get a hold of me and say, you owe me a track saw track, or, even though I went through extensive testing when I did them and tried to break them and do whatever. But again, once it gets into their hands, depending on how they use it, I don't advertise them to put them in vans, but I've had people that buy them that put them in their work trucks and they've handled it. And I'm like, oh, that once they tell me that, I'm like, I didn't
test for that.
Yeah. But it's like they're holding up and they keep rebuying them. And it's like, okay, well, but that's just one of those things. You don't know who's going to buy it and how they're going to use it. And it's like, how do you cover yourself? How do you protect yourself? Is there a way? It's just like,
he's going to be typing up a disclaimer as soon as he gets off here.
Yeah, it's already in ChatGPT. Write me up a disclaimer.
Put it in there.
If they cut their fingers off, they won't be able to call their lawyer.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, here we are.
Well, the nice thing is I could always just be like, well, you attached the miter bar to it and you attached this to it. I never said you could do that, so I could turn it back around on them or something.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I do like making jigs though, but that is something to think about. What in your packaging, just throwing a piece of paper. And I'm going to be on here after this too, typing one up too and making copies.
Yeah, it's a good idea. It's a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, I've had to do on certain things like, because on some of the stuff I do send a certain screw because I know exactly what somebody's going to do because I went and just tested it. They're going to use a wedge head screw in that hole, and it's going to split that 3D print because they're going to use an impact driver, and I know what's going to happen. So I said, you know what? To avoid that, I bought a screw that has like a washer on it. I forgot
washer built in.
Yeah, to where it sets right on top, and you can hammer down with the impact, and it's not going to really do anything because it just those little things you think about because somebody's going to turn around and say, hey, this thing split apart. And it's like, and in my descriptions, I specifically say, do not use a wedge head screw in this. And if you do split it because you used it, you need to use the provided screws that I send you. And it's not a big added cost, but just those little things you think about because somebody will do it and then they're going to want you to replace it. And you know how that goes. It's just,
I'm going to up the price of my jigs to like $5,000 and say they just come with a saw stop.
They come with a saw stop.
Yes.
They come with the saw stop. That's a good one. All right, guys. Well, man, that went by quick. We're already there. Done deal.
When in good company.
There you go. So Trevor, thank you for taking the time out and being with us. We really appreciate it. You do a hell of a job out there. I love watching your stuff. And y'all, I got all his things down below. Y'all go check him out. And at this point, if you have anything that you want to put out there for the listeners to know, something coming up, here's your chance.
Don't DM me. Ben, leave me alone. Dave, I'm still working on your cup that I owe you from 2 years ago.
I was going to ask that.
Be good, be safe, be happy, everybody.
There you go.
There you go.
Jamie.
I'm finally able to get back out into the shop after a hectic week last week. So I'm enjoying that. And then we've got Saturday morning cartoons on, well, Saturday.
There you go. The dust collection is up in the shop. I'm super tired, and we're going to have one heck of a show for Saturday on Saturday morning cartoons. That's how we say in America, Jamie. There we go.
Seriously, who's your dialect coach, dude?
There you go. Now that Trevor's called me out, I'm going to move that CNC that you see right there and get it plugged in. That's going to be what I'm going to do that soon, so I don't have to hear about that anymore. Anyhow, remember to please go to iTunes, give us a review. I want 10 stars, 10. And
10.
10. And thanks everybody for hanging out tonight. And we'll see y'all same time, same place, same beautiful faces next week. Trevor, appreciate it. Thanks everybody. Have a good evening.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see y'all tomorrow or next week. Bye.